According to John's measurements, the way he put his gospel together, this is the third time that Jesus has appeared to the disciples. And I also want to point out there's only seven of them that are present. It's the third time he's appeared to them. Peter denied Jesus before he was crucified how many times? 3. And then Jesus is going to ask Peter today in our gospel, as you've heard, do you love me 3 times? Jesus is trying to help him, his friend. But Peter is having trouble forgiving himself for what he did. Right? I've never heard a homily on it. I've never seen any commentary on it that I can recall on it. It's not that unusual. But in the Gospel of Luke, do you remember last week when I was talking about the walk to Emmaus? The two disciples of Christ who are walking to this nearby town after the resurrection, and Jesus joins them. And they get to Emmaus, and he breaks the bread, and they recognize him. Then what do? They go back to Jerusalem, and they tell the disciples that what they've seen the Lord. Now listen to what their response is. This is out of Luke. I'm just going to read this to you. They say, the Lord is risen indeed and has appeared to Simon. Did you catch that? Jesus went to Simon after the resurrection, and we have no idea in Scripture what they talked about. Jesus goes to him because he knows he needs his help. And in my imagination, I'm saying Jesus is saying, you know what, I forgive you. It's okay. Let's get going. We've got things to do. My love for you is so great, I can forgive every sin if somebody's repentant. And that's what he's trying to do, is help him. But Peter, he's got the Lord's forgiveness, the Lord's mercy. Christ has come to him for goodness sake, one of the first people he meets, and yet here is Peter not quite knowing what to do. Right? You see, there's 2 kinds of guilt. And I think some of you, maybe all of you to varying degrees, know what I'm talking about. There's the guilt that destroys. We can't live with ourselves. We regret something so badly, it spoils our relationships because there's no chance to redeem something, to get this resolved with somebody else. And so it taints our life forever because the guilt comes and we don't know what to do with it. And then there's the guilt that saves. There's the guilt that saves. When it's used by the grace of God as an impetus to do better the next time and to change our lives and to find how to please the Lord. Regret can lead to greatness in us. And here's how Jesus does it, okay? He takes Peter all the way back to his beginning and reminds him he's been called already. He takes him back to the beginning of his ministry with Jesus. Turn to Luke chapter 5, page 47. Jesus is in Galilee by the Lake of Gennesaret, and he is in Peter's boat about, 100 feet, I don't know how far, just not too far off from shore. And he's using the boat as sort of a place to speak to the crowds that's on the shoreline. And I'm sure his voice is amplified in that nice cove there. And after he's done preaching, we pick it up at verse 5. He says, verse 4, when Jesus, he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, Simon, put out into the deep water and let your nets for a catch. And Simon answered, Master, we have worked all night long, but have caught nothing. Just like today's gospel. Yet, if you say so, I will let down the nets. In other words, he's probably rolling his eyes, saying Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about. Verse 6, when they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were beginning to tear, to break. So they signaled to other ones and so forth. Now go down to verse 8. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. All right? Now go down to verse 10. The bottom of verse 10. Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid, from now on you will be catching people. The actual translation is men. You will be catching men. When they had brought their boats to shore, they left everything and followed him. Okay, so did you catch that at the end of this? Peter has this experience. He realizes his sinfulness, is that he's not worthy of following Christ. And Christ says, I've got a job for you. You're going to leave your nets and follow me. You're going to leave your old profession. Today in our gospel, Peter is now leaving Jesus to go back to the nets. He's just saying, it's over. I can't do this. While we were walking with Jesus, people gave them food and everything, and they stayed at people's houses to do ministry, and he said, that's all over. It's too late. I'm going to go back to my old trade because it's the only thing I'm good for. So what Jesus does is he, quote unquote, recreates Simon Peter's conversion. Puts the net out. Pulls in a great feast of fish, harvest of fish, and all these things. In your gospel today, what are the last words Jesus tells him in the reading? Follow me. Jesus is telling Peter this. All things are forgivable. All I want is you to try to follow me. And yes, you blew it. I have forgiven you. And you may blow it tomorrow. But will you keep following me? Will you keep trying? Will you keep coming back to me for mercy and grace so that I can help you to do what you're called to do? Because at the end of your life, Peter, you will do it. You denied me when I was going to be crucified. You denied me when I was in trial, but you will make it. You won't deny me at the end of your life. And that's a calling of all of us, is this grace, this mercy that we want from God. Guilt can inspire if we use it as leverage to do better in our lives for God. So let's bring it back to you and me. You know, there's sometimes things I think about that happened 20 years ago, and they start getting me down, and I regret those things. And I start slipping into that guilt that destroys. I need to hear Jesus' words coming to me. I need Jesus to come to me the way he did to St. Peter, to talk to him. Where am I going to find that? In confession. I go to confession and Jesus gives me those words I need to hear. I go to God, I find those words in prayer. And also, Jesus took Peter back to the beginning of his ministry. He takes you back to the beginning of your relationship with him as well in your baptism. Baptism is an eternal covenant in your flesh. It's God committing himself to you, saying, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I am always there for you. All you need to do is to follow me. If you follow me, you will always be okay in the end, if you're open to me. I think that's just what I want. How about you? I just want to be with Jesus. And I don't care, to be honest, I don't care really in one way about the mistakes of the past, but I'm not going to let them keep me from following Jesus today. That's our calling.